I was born before Pearl Harbor. I had two close relatives in the Army.
My father was in and out of jail.
I'm a historian of medieval Christianity.
I'm the first person in my family born in America.
They were fighting for their families, their communities, their towns, their cities.
Someone like me who is quote unquote expected to be liberal, expected to be Democrat because I was born and raised in the 24th Ward.
I was a Boy Scout, loving God and country.
And coming of age of that, I found a lot of power in the possibility of capitalism and the possibility of entrepreneurship and creativity and ideas.
But on the other hand, there were moral implications to families and communities. I found myself thus becoming politically minded.
And he said, Sham, is it possible the reason you're exploring this topic is because you're trying to figure out your story?
And I'm very much hoping in our conversation that we can get to that deep level of understanding, not just the political.
It seems to me that the powers that be, Democrats or Republicans, are capitalizing on things like COVID-19, the drastic turn for the worse in our economy, to make us fearful.
To see also the legacy tarnish of Presidents Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush and George W. and even Gerald Ford was more open-minded about refugees than where we are right now. So I think it's a tremendous loss of our culture as America.
This erasure of history right now, to me, is the most terrifying political moment.
When I think about the core issue, I'm drawn to the notion of fear.
I think without addressing trauma in sometimes a clinical sense and sometimes a spiritual sense, or both, ego and identity politics very readily form.
Perception is distorted by need. I am at a loss for some of the things that people do and say, based almost solely on feeling.
If you are engaged in battle against the status quo, you tend to think of yourself as somewhat radical. But then I listen to the more conservative amongst us, and I'm like, I can get with that. I mean, that's me. So I think what I'm learning is we're not our labels.
And if you can't even be able to talk about those issues without it being predetermined who was right, then you don't understand the complexities of the decisions that we have to make right now.
I wonder if there's a way to have this discourse, but in a way where we're talking to people who aren't in the positions of privilege that we have.
Under what circumstances can you create what is in effect a social game, right? We have rules, we have a structure, we've agreed to abide by them. And how is it that we can carry that kind of, I mean, it's a sports metaphor, right? That kind of game structure into other sorts of situations.
A true consensus isn't global agreement. True consensus, in discursive terms, is simply the ability to sit down and say, I agree to listen.
But I just don't think that today is the day to end this discourse. It may take on another form, may take on more people, but I admonish you not to end it today.
We have almost primed by our educational system, our media for sure, to want to engage in rhetoric that makes us anxious. Like in our—
It's fun!